Hello, and welcome to Confessions of a Terrible Leader, where real leaders share the raw truth about the lessons they learned the hard way so you don't have to. Join our host, Layci Nelson, founder of Transcend Leadership Collective and former terrible leader. Every leader can become worthy of being followed if they are willing to put in the work. On this podcast, we share the messy stories and behind-the-scenes reality of what the work actually entails. We welcome you to this community of revolutionary leaders who believe honest communication, healthy conflict, and building cultures of acceptance, respect, and trust are not only possible, but non-negotiable for cultivating world-class teams. Hello, friends. Welcome to Confessions of a Terrible Leader. I am about to reveal one of the most embarrassing stories about myself. I always talk about how important body language is. There's a reason for that. I have not always had the best messaging sent with my body, and I will talk about in detail what that used to mean. But first, I want to set us up for why body language is so important. We actually pick up more cues from one another's body posture, the way we carry ourselves, the hand gestures we use, our facial expressions. That is massively more impactful than the words that we use, and even more impactful than our tone of voice. Why do you think video calls are so much more powerful than just a text message, right? Like if you're on the scale of 1 to 10 with impact, ability to read somebody's tone, understand where they're coming from, body language is massively powerful. Now we can trace that back. Why is it so powerful? I mean, we could go back to our evolutionary roots and look at how as a species we've evolved to survive literally off of the ability to read the cues of others, alerting us to danger, alerting us to their moods. Now you compound that with being in a position of influence or leadership. If you are a leader, your body language speaks 10 times louder than anybody else's body language in the group, because we are predispositioned or we're wired in our brains to be really aware of anything that the leader says or does. This isn't going to be new information to a lot of you, but just a reminder that when we look at like our ancestors, when we look at when all of us came from people groups that were living in tribal units out on the plains, like you had to maintain your membership in the group to survive. There was not the ability to go out and be a quote unquote lone wolf and make it. That was if you got kicked out of the group, that was a literal death sentence. You were done. So the people that had survived and passed their genes on to us were the people that were able to read cues, to keep the leader or leaders in the group happy, to stay connected to them, to understand what they wanted and act accordingly. Thus, we are highly attuned to what leaders are doing and saying. And if we are leaders, we need to recognize that we do not get the luxury of telling people just not to take you so seriously, or you should know when I'm kidding, or I'm just having a bad day. Just you should know it's not personal. You're asking them to fight against their biology. Now, that's possible when you have this knowledge that I just shared with you, to at least understand and use logic a little bit. But most of us don't know this. This isn't like pre-installed. We don't understand why our brains are so attuned. We just know that we are having this massive emotional response to leadership's body language. I want you to think about the difference in your own life as to when a leader has had an instance where they have maybe not said anything, but carried themselves abruptly, walked quickly across the floor, approached your desk with aggression, or we're extremely sad or withdrawn, you immediately start creating narrative in your brain as to why and figuring out how that's going to impact you and if you're going to be okay and what in the world this body language might mean. You don't just let it roll and blow off because your brain isn't designed to. Your brain is working exactly how it's supposed to. Your emotional response is working exactly how it's supposed to. So know that as a leader, your words are very, very powerful and your body language is even more powerful. This isn't a message just for the new leadership. I don't care if you've been leading for 25 years, for 35 years. You don't ever get a free pass on your body language. It is always going to be communicating louder than your words and bulldozing any intentions. It is massively impactful. So let me tell on myself. I have a quirk. I still have this quirk that I absolutely cannot stand being interrupted when I am on a phone call with someone or a video call. But back when this story happened, we didn't have video calls as the norm yet. We were still on the phone. And I have zero patience, zero tolerance for being interrupted and getting distracted, especially if the phone call has a lot of weight behind it. If it's an important conversation where I want to stay 100% focused because we're making a pivotal decision or I'm trying to influence something and having a conversation with someone that's a stakeholder in the situation. So you get it. I'm not the nicest person when I get interrupted when I'm on the phone. Now, I had a team at this point. I think this was probably 20 years ago now. And I was on a very important, weighty phone call. I don't honestly remember exactly what it was for, but what I remember is it was important. And I remember I had staff at my door, and they were persistent with trying to get my attention, even though I was on this important phone call. I had every unpleasant look in the world on my face. And I also have this beautiful, disgustingly beautiful habit of when I don't like something, when I didn't like something, I have since tried to train this out of myself. When I didn't like something and I wanted it to stop, I wouldn't make eye contact. I would just have peripheral vision. And then I would reach my hand out towards the person that was doing the action that I wanted to stop, like stop trying to interrupt me on this call. And I would snap at them like a dog. Like you would snap at an unruly dog to like get off the couch or something. Seriously. I snapped at my staff, not with my words, with my literal body, with my hands. I snapped at them, didn't make eye contact, had a horrible, disgusted expression on my face, got off the call, and had a staff that felt very disrespected and very distant for a few days. I had no idea what had happened. I was so blind to what the impact was with that use of body language. Eventually, over time, with reflection, I realized I was pretty good at measuring my words. I was not good at measuring what the messages my body was sending, especially under stress. When I was under immense amounts of stress, my body language expressions would get more extreme, even if I could control my mouth. So, and it had impact that was not serving anybody well. It was not serving them well. There was 1,000 different better ways I could have dealt with that. And I was the most embarrassing part is how absolutely unaware in the moment I was of how awful that is. Looking back, I'm like, oh, good God. I'm so glad I've grown, but I want all of us to know there's still likely body language cues that I give that are sending messages out of alignment with the impact I want to have. And you probably have some too. So next time you find yourself under stress, I want to challenge you, or angry, or any sort of emotional dysregulation. I want to challenge you, leaders, to assess what body language am I using and is it going to have the intended impact? Like, do I want my staff to feel disrespected because I'm stressed out and they're needing something from me when I'm on the phone? Could they have used better judgment? Probably. But also, how many times before when I wasn't under stress or it was a lighter call, had I responded to them? And how are they supposed to know what's happening? I could have put a sign on my door that said, do not disturb. I'm in this important call. I'll get to you. I'll get what you need as soon as I'm off. Like a million different ways this could have gone down better than it did. So think about for yourself, what body language are you using and is it creating unintended distance and disconnection and barriers to your team feeling like you're actually approachable and that they actually really do have an open door policy or that you really do want to hear from them. So just give that some thought, observe yourself, pay attention, gain some self-awareness, and for in this particular area, and for the love of God, do not be me. Do not snap your fingers at your people like they are animals. So there you go. Tip of the day, pay attention to your body language. That is my confession. I used to snap at my team. It was awful. I don't do it anymore. And I hope that all of you can take something from this for just one thing. Pay attention to your body language. Your impact often can be way out of alignment with what your intention is in the moment. So there you go. Until next time, go manage like a leader.
Thanks for being part of this community of revolutionary leaders who believe honest communication, healthy conflict, and building cultures of acceptance, respect, and trust are not only possible, but non-negotiable for cultivating world-class teams. If one-to-one coaching, engaging workshops, or strategic planning that is actually useful are anything that interests you, make sure to head over to www.transcendleadershipcollective.com to check out our free resources. Confessions of a Terrible Leader is hosted by Layci Nelson and produced by Mary Scott. Music is by Leif Olson and Mary Scott from the band The Number of Months. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, go manage like a leader.